Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Air Tycoon 5. And yet, taking a look at my profit, as you can see, we are doing exceptionally well. While the profit margin is not fantastic, the actual profit amount is absolutely immense, as you guys can see here. And here's a quick view of any of these expenses if you're kind of interested, and in a yearly format too, as it kind of gives us a better overview of the kind of trend our company is going on. And as you can see, we are shooting straight up in terms of profit, and that's a result of a really large effort, um, in terms of making sure every turn is optimized and continuing our strategy of Tupolev's 747s as the kind of key drivers of our growth. Almost 67% of our planes are either Boeing 747-100s or Tupolevs, actually even more. And we do have a good number of 707s, which are a um, good driver for our growth, but they're not nearly as important as the immense amount we make from 747s. Um, Another thing we have added is we've added DC-1030s. These are just to serve routes which are too long range for 747-100s, as they have a quite low range of just 9,800 kilometers, and these have a range of 10,622 kilometers, as we can see, which allows us to serve some routes which are just in that range bracket, between the 747-100 and the max range of the DC-1030, which occasionally lets us do a route like this, which we couldn't before. Anyhow, um, with that in mind, let's go take a look at the kind of airplanes which are making most of our money. And this is still to this day the 747-100. And because this plane only costs $50,000, to get one of them, considering the lease cost, it allows us to just place these on so many different routes. Um, and even if the plane is not 100% full, we're not losing out too much. For example, in a lot of the downticks for 747-100s, you're unable to maintain a 100% load factor, and that's just due to the nature of how big the plane is. But as long as it's making profit, these routes are fantastic because, um, of course, paying only $50,000 for a plane, even not making an optimal amount, like as we can see, the lowest point in profit in this flight is about 3.5 million, maybe 4 million. And when it's doing well, it's up to about 5 million, which is fantastic. And keep in mind, there's another side to this route, so it's actually making a lot more overall. Um, this plane is vastly profitable, especially considering it will ROI itself in literally 5 or 6 turns. Um, and we've been making a huge effort to kind of deploy these planes whenever viable. And if you're not experienced with finding out where good routes are for 747-100s and they're losing money, a really good hint is if you take a look at super major airports like LAX, if you connect almost any city with at least 250, but preferably 300 business and tour. Um, so what I mean by that is if you take a look at Bordeaux, it's got 112 tour and 146 business. Oh no, I read it the other way around. It's 112 business, 146 tour. And you add those up, it's about 250. So I'd consider Bordeaux with the city with 250 business or tour. Um, so uh, when you take a look at a city like this, even connected with a 747 stopover route, at the lowest point, we're making 2.5K. Um, and at the highest point, as we can see, we're very nicely profitable. Um, at 3K, which is pretty good. And even at the lowest point, we're not doing bad at all. We're still only paid $50,000 for a plane, which is making 4,000 per turn at the lowest point. So at the worst time, the ROI of this plane would be like 12 or 13 turns. Um, and we have to consider the net profit does include depreciation costs. So this is the least expense of the plane, basically, and it's divided into, roughly speaking, because of the fact it's a stopover route, so of course the depreciation cost for this route is only half of the overall route. Anyhow, with that in mind, take a look at the number of cities that it's viable to connect with the 747. Well, I'm not even using a 747 here, but I could. I'm not going to use 747-200 because those are bought for the range. But yeah, if we take a look at like um, all these cities, so many of them are connected with 747s, which are just money printers. Like this route doesn't even lose occupancy during downticks. Um, how awesome is that? And I just realized Geneva does not have a route, so we can totally open that at some point. And yeah, and I'm probably going to go back through Europe here and just make sure every single route with at least 250 business and tour is converted to a 747-100 to the likes of Los Angeles, um, New York, and Chicago. Chicago is a tiny bit smaller than New York, um, and LA. So when I do Chicago, I'll probably make sure the middle cities in my stopover route. Because keep in mind, if we're stopping in Europe, we have to land somewhere in Asia um, to make the stopover work. And the stop in Asia is usually quite a bit smaller because no Asian cities get as big as New York, LA, or Chicago. Um, but even still, there's just so many great options for stopover routes, which can absolutely print money, especially on good travel months. So that has been kind of the big driver in our extreme growth. One also thing for kind of fun, which we're doing here, is we're making some nonstop just like fun large routes with 747-200s, which are not taken otherwise. And as you can see, the profit of these is not too bad. It's not great either. I think I didn't make the economy class small enough or make the premium classes big enough for ranges this high, which I kind of wasn't expecting also because I already have a really huge first class of 16 seats and a really huge business class of 65 seats. So I wasn't expecting to need even more. Um, but yeah, I guess that's a thing. Um, Another thing we can see is across the world, I've basically confirmed slots in every city that I really want, with just a couple exceptions. So, exception number one is Moscow. But I kind of wanted slots in Moscow, but not anymore. Because take a look at the route coverage. I don't know why the AIs do such a good job of covering all the routes to Moscow. Um, so yeah, I mean this kind of annoys me, in all honesty. But even still, once I am able to open a base here, which I probably should do this turn actually, because I have my 10 Tupolev 134s. I'm just gonna open some short range routes and hold like 200 or 300 slots. I'm gonna call it that. Um, to Moscow, as there's not a lot of routes I want to open here. Um, like there are some like Cebu and like some longer range ones that we will open later. And these aren't even long range actually, because Moscow is so far north. It's actually less far from, I guess, the rest of the world than what you'd expect. But yeah, the coverage here is not too great to North America actually. But I don't know why it's so good to Asia. They're taking like cities like Wuhan, but not to North America, to much bigger cities. I think the AI just there doesn't like to buy long range planes or something. I don't know what's going on. Um, but yeah, I'll definitely take a look at Moscow. I don't know why I just forgot about it. Um, but yeah, like Tokyo, for some reason, the airline there is basically stalled out and is not using many slots. Seoul, we have a great slot count here. Shanghai, ooh. All these bases were full at one point, and now they have a few slots available. So I'm gonna request them while they are, um, because that seems wise. Anyways, yeah, as you kids can see, we have basically slots almost everywhere in the world we want. We did forget about San Francisco again. So we're still waiting for the name image to catch up to 50 before we can open that as a base. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the direction my company is going. You can always kind of copy the 747 stopover strategy. It is just so profitable. Like, let's flip our profit around and we can see like how many routes we have in this 3 to 4K range, which if you consider the plane would be a 6 to 7K range. It's just fantastic. And once we scroll down a little bit more, we start to get slightly worse performing 747 routes. We start to get, DC-8s. Um, and even lower is just our sea of Tupolevs, just making, honestly not bad money per Tupolev. And we can see how uh, vastly different the profit is based on whether it's an uptick or downtick, which is kind of funny. Um, yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.